Welcome back, and now that CES 2020 is over, I'm going to review all of the news we have from Arcade1up. First thing to look at, we have several new cabinets in development. First up, Golden Tee and Silver Strike in one cabinet. The game list is not yet finalized, but we can expect release around May. And one caveat, any of these release dates that I mentioned, the Arcade1up team at CES was very clear to say these could change. Any cabinet that they announce now at CES could slip until holiday 2020. I've previously shared my thoughts on this cabinet. I think it looks great. I think it's an obvious choice and maybe should have been the Golden Tee to begin with. But that said, for those of us that already picked up Golden Tee, really hoping this is available as an upgrade package for existing Golden Tee cab holders. Next cabinet, Star Wars Sit Down. It's really just the original Star Wars cabinet that we all know and love. And by the way, I finally did get the part I needed, so I will have a review coming soon on that. But you've probably already seen those on YouTube. Overall impressions have been very, very positive for the Star Wars cabinet. So it makes sense that Arcade1up would take another swing at the bat and give us the same cabinet in a new form factor. It comes with a bench that does not connect to the cabinet. It simply slides and surrounds it. The bench seat is made of a quote-unquote a high-grade pleather, as reported from the Arcade1up team in a Retro Ralph interview. According to John D., this bench will be available separately at some point in the future, but this original bundle package is expected for Father's Day. And again, it is the same Star Wars cabinet, just without the riser. Pac-Man 40th Anniversary. This has the old school cabaret cabinet aesthetics, does have a light-up marquee, includes Galaga as well as several Pac-Man variants that you may or may not care about, but there's no Dig Dug. If Arcade1up is listening to this video, for the love of God, add Dig Dug to this cabinet and it will be a no-brainer even for people like me that already own the original Pac-Man and Galaga cabs. It has unique side panels, so this is definitely a theme that we're seeing. More attention to detail in the build quality, closer to the original releases. Big thumbs up for me on that. I think that that's needed and necessary and looks really cool. One thing I didn't like, and I probably wouldn't have thought this if those leaked images didn't exist, but the monitor in this 40th anniversary cab is not as recessed as we saw in the original and not as recessed as the original cabaret cab. I would have liked it to be almost a flat, layback flat monitor. That would have really made this cabinet a must-have, but I have to say the overall aesthetics on this look really cool. I love the wood grain. NBA Jam, we all knew this was coming, but it's finally here and we have some details. There are 3 missing players on the roster for NBA Jam, and that's due to licensing of players who exist outside the Retired Players Association. NBA Hang Time, additionally, will have 80 to 90% of the roster, according to John D. Again, that's from the Retro Ralph interview. You guys should check that out. But John D did commit. They're going to be looking to add more players later via Wi-Fi update. So they're apparently still in progress trying to get these last few licenses. And I have to take my hat off to them because, they don't really have to do that. If they're going to give us most of the players, it's already the best re-release of NBA Jam available. It's on original hardware and all of that. It's going to have the Wi-Fi. They could just leave it as is, but the fact that they're out hustling for those last few players is pretty cool. The first Sega cabinets have been announced, Frogger and Golden Axe. First up, Golden Axe. It is the Revenge of Death Adder cabinet, and that's what the artwork is inspired by. It is a 4-player cabinet, as Revenge of Death Adder supports 4 players. It will include Golden Axe 1. There was some confusion about this. The kick plate on the cabinet does not list Golden Axe 1, but in an interview, John D did confirm it will be there. So apparently this will have 5 games. They've never done a 5-game cabinet before, so that's kind of interesting. We're also getting, in addition to Golden Axe 1 and 2, Altered Beast, Shinobi, and Wrestle War. A lot of people don't like Altered Beast, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I think that game's awesome. I actually never played it when I was a kid, but I've got the Sega Mini and I've been playing the crap out of it lately. It's a simple enough game, but I really like the aesthetic of it, and it's got simple but tight gameplay. Apparently, there won't be a light-up marquee on Golden Axe, so you guys know my view on this. If there's no light-up marquee, I'm not buying it. That said, it sounds like they're looking to put light-up marquees on as many of their future cabinets as possible, so even though it wasn't announced as far as I know, I would expect 2 versions of this, one with light-up marquee and one without. Notably, Wrestle War is included here. It is a vertical game, and it is the first ever Arcade1up game to feature dynamic bezel graphics displayed in the monitor instead of black bars when the game orientation and the monitor orientation do not match. That's a feature that it looks like they've cribbed from At Games and I'm fine with it. I think that that's a good way to handle the problem of differing screen orientations. Frogger, alternatively, does have a light-up marquee and looks great. There was some feedback in my comment section of people not liking the look of this cabinet, but I disagree. It's actually really close to the original Frogger cab. Looks super cool. I love the tire tread that run up the control panel and up into the monitor bezel. Don't know anything about Time Pilot or Time Pilot 84, so I don't have an opinion there, but I do enjoy Frogger. I probably am going to pick the Frogger cabinet up, although increasingly, I don't know where these things are going to go. I'm going to have to get creative with my room layout. On to the other news, new product lines. Pinball. We all know pinball is here, but this is interesting. A quote from, I believe it was David from Arcade1up. This is the pillar of Arcade1up's business moving forward. That is a huge stake in the ground for a product that has not yet launched, so they must already have some serious positive feedback from retail partners on this product, and I can see why. This looks awesome. Now, Cool Toy got to play this, so check out his CES booth tour live stream. You can see about 6 minutes in, he gets to play the cabinet, and here is his feedback. Number one, most importantly, let's be clear, no flipper delay. That's the number one and really the everything, because if there was flipper delay, I know I'm not interested in this, and I'm certainly not paying $500 or $600 for it, which apparently will be the price. But good news, no flipper delay. Quote unquote, really impressive haptic feedback, so I guess he was happy with that in the moment. The next thing I thought was interesting, high quality sound. You're on the show floor at CES. I'm sure it's really loud. The fact that the audio sounded impressive in that context is a good sign. Don't know how seriously this guy takes home audio stuff, but the fact that it was loud and clear is, I guess, the best we can hope for, and that's a good sign. David from Arcade1up reported, and I quote, "This is not a toy, this is the real deal. Shots fired at Toy Shock. I think they're a little salty that Toy Shock beat him to the punch with home pinball. But you know what? I don't know that I see these as direct competitors, at least Toy Shock's existing product. You've got a low-end product. It's very simple. It's oriented toward kids, but, you know, fun enough to play for adults. And you've got something a little more enthusiast from Arcade1up. Look, the more the merrier on this, guys. It would be cool if these different companies could share licenses, because apparently we're never going to get Gottlieb tables on Arcade1up, or at least not anytime soon. So we're going to be limited in that way, but is what it is. I know these companies have to jockey for these licenses and lock up exclusives where they can. Moving on with pinball, there will be a 7 or 8 inch, apparently it's to be determined, but a 7 or 8 inch color LCD for the DMD that is included in the back box. That's a big deal. That's a pretty good size, and it is full color. And all the imagery I've seen of these cabinets playing, the DMD is, and again, it's a full color LCD, but it's replicating the look of a dot matrix display. I think that's awesome. I mean, that's between that and no flipper lag, I'm already sold on this thing. They're easy to assemble. They come in 3 pieces, so it's more of an at games approach of give you a couple pieces, screw it together, and you're done. With as many Arcade1ups as I have assembled, that's a welcome reprieve. I used to kind of like putting them together, but man, it gets old after a while. No confirmed release date, but you should expect it at some point in 2020. And listen, folks, it's probably going to be holiday 2020. Let's be serious. The Arcade1up team has been clear that they expect all the products on the CS floor out in 2020, whether that's spring, summer, or holiday at the latest. There is an exclusive relationship between Arcade1up and Zen Pinball, so every table that they have planned will be licensed through Zen. So anything outside of Zen, we're not going to see on Arcade1up. Each machine will have 10 tables. Wi-Fi is included, but is initially only for product updates. DLC has been mentioned offhand, but there are no plans for it today. So that's Arcade1up continuing down the path of building cool products, but not really working to provide ongoing permanent support to extend the products we already have. And I get it, their model is to sell as many of those products as possible. DLC tables mean maybe you don't need to buy a whole nother art table to begin with. Potentially swappable artwork. This is news because previously it's been reported that the artwork on the back box would be swappable. And apparently it is easy to swap it, but it's unconfirmed if Arcade1up will be selling artwork variants. Although my bet is on them doing just that. Stereo sound, I mentioned before, Cool Toy claims the sound is great, even on a loud CES floor. And there will be tilt support via accelerometer. Speaking of tilt support and accelerometers, making this feel like a real pinball, with some bad news, we may or may not have solenoids built into the table. I've heard 2 different things from different representatives of Arcade1up as to, yes, the solenoids are guaranteed, and solenoids, of course, are what give us that haptic feedback. So when you're playing pinball, even though it's all virtual, it feels real to the touch. We've heard that there will for sure be solenoids, and we've heard that there may or may not be solenoids depending on what kind of price they're going to hit. My hat is in the ring, as solenoids are a must-have on this. Honestly, I'm probably going to buy it either way because there's so much other good news around this, but I'll be really disappointed. I probably wouldn't spend $600 on this without solenoids. Without feedback, $500 is probably the cap, but with really good haptic feedback, I would pay $600. Speaking of price range, $450 to $650 is the price range that's been thrown out. Clearly, they have not finalized on pricing. Different reps from the company have provided different price points. The CEO at one point did say $600 recently, so maybe that's the price point they're going to target. I do worry about the quality of the product if they get this down to $500. Just keep in mind, you're going to sell it to retail for roughly half what they're going to sell it for. So if they're selling it for $500 at Walmart, these guys are selling it to Walmart for $250 and then probably spending around $150 to build it. And I don't know, I think we need a little bit more money invested in this. Attack from Mars is one of 2 initially announced pinball tables, and all the tables on Attack from Mars are of course licensed from Williams-Bally, a great name in pinball. I'm not an expert in pinball, I'm kind of learning as I go, but even I recognize Williams-Bally as a heavyweight name. Star Wars Pinball is also coming. The exact list of tables is to be determined, but we know we're going to get 10 virtual tables. Artwork is inspired from new films and old films, but I would stress the artwork you've seen in images and on YouTube is not yet finalized. There is a Universal Pinball that has been leaked, but is not yet confirmed. I've seen no confirmation about this. My guess is they're working on the rights. New product variants in addition to pinball. Giant joysticks, Atari and Pac-Man are the first 2 announced, around $100, targeting kind of a party vibe with these. So far from what I've seen, I'm not really interested in these. They don't look very practical to use. They look kind of more like a piece of wall art you might have somewhere. If anything, I like the Atari one better because it looks like a real Atari joystick. I think the Pac-Man one's kind of ugly, but that's me. They do have a micro arcade with a design inspired by ColecoVision. Those look interesting. We've seen products like that on the market before. I've never bought them before. I feel like if I start, I'm going to end up collecting them. And honestly, I don't know where I'd put them, so I don't know that I'm going to go there. So neither of those things are that interesting to me. But the micro consoles do look pretty cool. They come with a retro designed miniature TV set with a little mini LCD to screen. Really slick design. It is a novel idea, unlike the other new stuff they're doing. I don't know that I've caught the price on this, but looking at it and knowing it comes with a display, if I had to guess, I'm thinking $80 to $100. Look pretty cool. Then they have the handhelds coming. These look just like the Act Games Blast product. I don't understand why everyone who makes these handheld with these retro game dongles, why the controller is always a ripoff of the Genesis or Mega Drive design. I assumed Act Games did that because they used to have the Genesis license, and so they had the molds already, but Arcade1up has copied that. I think they're ugly. Maybe these are really popular with kids. I just can't imagine playing an arcade ROM with a little Genesis controller knockoff. That product is for sure not for me. The micro consoles though are cool, and I expect that to be a big gift idea if they get the pricing right. Handhelds, not so much. New accessories. We do have some news here that lit marquee upgrades are coming to potentially all of the existing Arcade1up cabinets, and at minimum starting with the most popular titles to date. Now, their existing lit marquee boxes I don't believe would fit on the original side panels, so I'm not sure how they're going to do this. Are they going to be as thin as the existing boards that we have for marquees? Are they going to be the light box somehow retrofitted to fit into the old side panels? Curious to see how they pull this off, but good news nonetheless. New features. Online play is coming to NBA Jam. It will be free. And this is interesting. John D reports that they are unlikely to offer online play for any other titles in 2020, but it is possible. They're actively looking at it. They say it's hard to do. It was a big investment. So it sounds like we can only expect this in really high volume titles like NBA Jam. Scan lines, old school CRT style scan lines, are planned for at least some of their future cabinets. People on the show floor are reporting that the scan lines look really good. I take that as good news. I actually really like the scanlines Code Mystics implemented on Return of the Jedi and the Star Wars cabinet. Now, I will say it would be nice if Arcade1up would standardize their feature set. Some cabinets come with custom side panels that mimic the real thing. Some come with generic side panel shapes. Some are going to be coming with CRT scanlines, some are not. You know, again, my OCD, but I would like to have products that are more consistent, either in their perfect replication of the original or in the more generic side panels, but they all look the same. This thing where some cabinets are more authentic than others is a little bit frustrating and definitely going to play a role in me picking which cabs I buy in the future. They will be reselling old titles with upgrades. They already showed Street Fighter 2 on the show floor with light up marquee. I do not know if this will have stereo sound or not. The ones shown on the floor do not, and the Arcade1up reps were non-committal on that point. They are also planning to re-release Mortal Kombat, and my guess is several other cabinets too, with these new updates, which I think is a good move. Partycade and Countercade 2.0 both have been made a little smaller, shrinking the bezel a little bit, getting the cost of production and shipping down, and getting the prices down. The Wallcade, I'm not sure what the new price is, but version 2 is coming out after John D reports that this product almost died. They brought it back from the dead.
Our grandma and grandpa can play, because have you seen some of those games of today? Those controllers with all those extra buttons, what are they for?
HSN had a successful run with it with 10 or 20,000 units sold, so we're going to see more of those. That product is not for me. I've already mentioned I don't like the fully vertical screen, but I could see it being popular with kids. The Countercade I'm a little more interested in. I just happen to have nowhere to put it. If I did have like a bar in my basement, I probably would pick one of these up. They're going to be price reduced to $100. I have to say, I still think the biggest opening today in arcade products is a really good bar top cabinet, and the Countercade is not it. I'm talking about a premium multicade, and I keep waiting for At Games to announce one, but they haven't done it yet. Maybe we'll see something at E3. There is a huge opening there, and I don't think Arcade1up is meeting that need. Big news we did not get: no shooter or racing cabinets, but it looks like they have the technology for these, assuming the prototype leaks were actual functioning units, which I would bet they are. We know that they have the Star Wars bench, so they can do racing games. We know they've made the yoke for Star Wars, so we know that's there. And we've seen guns with the Big Buck Hunter game. Now, Arcade1up exists in a world where we all have limited space in our homes, so they can't really blow their wad early and give us everything we want at once. So my guess is they're pacing themselves with coming out with some of this new tech cabinets, but we know from previous interviews that showcasing technology that is one-off is a strategy for them. It's hard for At Games to compete with a cabinet that is designed for a racing game, because how can At Games add a steering wheel to the cabinet that they have? E3 is around the corner, and they've made clear that they want to have big announcements at E3, so maybe we'll get one of these. Final word, they have the Sega licenses, and they apparently or likely have gun tech down. If we can get House of the Dead, that would be absolute monster release, and imagine that with online 2-player. That would be super slick. Everything I have for you right now, guys. This is everything I know about Arcade1up coming out of CES. Thank you for watching this video. I know it was a long one. If you've enjoyed it, hit like, leave a comment. That lets YouTube know to promote this to other people. It helps get the word out about the channel. Make sure you subscribe. If you're already subscribed, make sure you opt into notifications so you know when we have new cabinets coming. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time.